We have 1 minute. I show 9:30.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I will call the meeting of the Western Municipal Water District Board to order. Tammy, would you please read in the COVID protocols and conduct a roll call?
Thank you. Good morning. Pursuant to Western Municipal Water District Resolution 3266, in an effort to protect the public health, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and because state and local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing, the public may view this board meeting virtually, via Zoom, and in person. This meeting is being live streamed at WMWD.com and will be video recorded for on-demand viewing and broadcasting purposes. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item on the agenda may make comments in person, virtually via Zoom, or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. January 31st, 2023 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to activate the raise hand feature. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you'll be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Torres.
I'm here virtually.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Denstedt. Good morning. Director Roten.
I am here. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Rizvi.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. President Gardner.
Good morning, I am here as well.
Thank you. Good morning. President Gardner, you do have a quorum today.
Great, thank you very much. Director Torres, I'll try to keep an eye on whether you have raised your hand, but if I miss you, please speak up.
Absolutely, thank you.
You bet. Brings us to public comments. Tammy, do we have any public comments that were submitted or anyone online who would like to make a public
President
comment?
Gardner, if we could move back to the Pledge of Allegiance before we
Oh,
start? that
yes,
would
we
be great.
should. I apologize. And the pledge will be led this morning by Nicole Ventimiglia.
Communications and Customer Experience Department, and I have been with Western Water for 3 years. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Nicole, thank you very much. Now, public comment.
President Gardner, I've received no requests to speak. I have no written comments, and I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you very much. We will then close public comments and move on to presentations. Mr. Hadley.
Good morning, President Gardner and members of the board. My name is Michael Hadley, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Government Relations Officer for Western Water. I manage the Legislative and External Affairs program, of which this program I'm going to talk to you about here in a moment. Once the presentation comes up, we'll talk about one of those programs. Okay, thank you. So As you can see, we're going to talk about the Western Water Leaders class of 2022, but before we do that, next slide. I'd like to give you a brief overview of the pilot program that you may have remembered we launched last year. We'll do a presentation of the certificates to the class, the 2022 class who made it through, and then we'll talk about next steps. So with that, next slide. So I don't usually like to read things on the screen, but the program purpose of this, just as a refresher, is the purpose of the Water Leader program is to enhance trust in the community in Western service area and beyond, while improving awareness of Western's leadership within the community by engaging key community stakeholders and creating an educated water ambassadors and advocates program. Next slide. Some of the goals that we set to launch for this program is engage local leaders who are passionate about their community and want to build upon their understanding of water issues, create some water advocates who are committed to engage on the state, federal, and local water topics, and build a diverse network of community water leaders who are called upon for policy direction and assistance. So this is a great way for us to engage with key influencers and community stakeholders who may not be directly affiliated with water or have some affiliation in the water community for their insight and guidance. Next slide. The Western Water Leaders Program. So this is an overarching program that covers 4 different topics that some are new and some are not. The first one there is the Riverside County Water Task Force Speaker Series. So that's a way for us to engage the general public and anyone who has a general interest in water issues. That was a bi-monthly program that's moving to a quarterly program this year. Metropolitan Water District inspection trips. So those happen 1 to 2 times a year. We had one last October for the Colorado River Aqueduct and Hoover Dam, and we're actually going to be having one in June for the State Water Project with an agricultural focus, and that'll be 3 days. We also are launching, now that we have a water leader class, we'll start a luncheon series here this year that engages past members of the water leaders class as well as current water leader class members. And then finally, the certificate program, which I'm here to talk about today. Next slide. So the Western Water Leader Certificate Program, let's talk about the program as well as the inaugural class. Next slide. So the Western Water Leader Certificate Program requirements. So this is a list of things that the Western Water Leaders, when they indicate they have an interest, they receive an invitation from us to participate in the program, and then they agree to attend one of each of the following. A Western 101 session with Western executive staff, so usually that's Craig or Tim. There's one session of that, or as well as a makeup session. You have to attend a Western pop-up event or open house. You need to attend a Wake Up with Western program, which last year was virtual. You need to attend one Metropolitan Water District inspection trip. You need to attend the Connect the Drops tour, which is a new local program we launched last year that looked at Sterling Pump Station, the Arlington Desalter, the RCRA, and Western Ops facility. You need to attend a Western Water Leader luncheon program, which will start this year, and then also attend a Riverside County Water Task Force Speaker Series, just one. You can attend the virtual or the in-person end-of-year program, and attend a Western board meeting or committee meeting. So there's a lot of requirements in this program, and we are thrilled to say that after starting off with about 10 people interested in attending 1, maybe 2 of these things, we've had a group of 6 people who have made it through at least almost all these things with a commitment if they miss 1 or 2 that they're going to do it this year. Next slide. So with that, I'm proud to present the class of 2022, our very first inaugural class. The first person is Dr. Paulette Brown-Hines from Voice Media Venture. She's with us virtually today. Debbie Cherney from the San Bernardino County Employees Retirement Association. She is also joining us virtually today. Patrick Ellis from the Marietta-Wildomar Chamber of Commerce. He unfortunately could not attend today, but he was a big part of this program. Allison McKenzie from Babcock Laboratories, she's with us today. Dr. Kurt Schwabe from the University of California, Riverside. And of course, Andrew Woodard from Woodard and Associates. So this is our inaugural class. If you would please join me in thanking them and giving them a congratulatory round of applause. If the 3 would please join me up here on presenting the certificates, and we'll do a quick photo op. So if any of the board members would like to come down and take a photo, don't worry, there'll be time for comments at the end. But
Did the virtual people get a certificate too while we're handing it out to the in-person people?
oh, they will.
If they hold their hand
it's
up.
getting measured.
Debbie and Paulette, hold your hands up.
Stand over here with me. Oh, you want to do it? Okay.
how exciting my attendees.
Don't need to be pictured today.
Why do we do it on the side? Go 21st.
She's closer.
Okay. As you all are retaking your seats, I just want to let you know the class is also going to be receiving a gift from Western for congratulating them on the program. Not only are they getting their certificate that they can display proudly in their offices, but they're also receiving a custom engraved Western Wild Leader Ember mug, which for those who are not familiar, an Ember mug is a self-heating mug. So when you walk away from your coffee or tea and forget about it, it's still warm for a long time. So it's a little bit of an upgrade for a gift, but we appreciate their commitment to Western and integrating or engaging with us on a more long-term basis. So with that, our 2023 cohort, we are talking about that now internally. We've got a short list of people we're going to reach out to. We have some recommendations from our former cohort, our 2022 cohort, as far as who should be a part of that program. If any of you have any community leaders, people you think want to have an interest in engaging more on Western water issues and being more integrally involved in all things Western, please forward those contacts to Tammy or Craig, and they'll forward on to myself, and we'll make sure to reach out and engage with those people. Next slide. So that's their timeline. We're looking to have a Western 101. This may move out a month, but this is kind of the general timeline of how the 2023 cohort timeline will work. We try and space it out evenly so there's an opportunity so people aren't overwhelmed with activities and things to do. Next slide. And again, congratulations, class of 2022. And I see Debbie has her hand up.
He does.
I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to be part of this inaugural class. I want to commend Western's board and staff on a terrific program, very well executed. And I look forward to continuing to engage on these really critically important issues for our community and our state. So thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you, Debbie.
Do we have any other members of the class who would like to say anything before the board speaks?
I'll just say, since I'm also online, I echo what Debbie said. I learned a lot. I live right near Lake Matthews and had a chance to learn a lot more about what Western is doing there. I live in Mockingbird Canyon, so personally learned a lot, but also became a member of the Solve the Water Crisis Coalition and really thinking of ways to take what I've learned to date. And this is really just the beginning for me, of course, but to expand what I've learned and share with my larger community, with our readers, with the Black Voice News, and then with other community-based organizations that I work with. So for me, it's just the beginning, and I really appreciate being included in this first class.
Paulette, we really appreciate you being in the class. and all of you. But yeah, I think you are going to add quite a bit with your communication background and skills. And please say hi to the family for me.
I will. So good seeing you, Mike.
Anybody else?
Else? Sure.
All right.
This is another check mark in their requirements. Please say something to the board.
Yeah, we were
Add
testing
this
your
to the
communication
2023
skills.
list. Andrew Woodard, just once again, thank you to Western for putting this on and, helping me learn how much I didn't know about water. And so, this is just the, launching point and, happy to be a voice for water and the region for a long time forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you also. There's not a lot more that I can add, except now that I'm volunteering Michael for speaking engagements all over town on Solve the Water Crisis. But thank you all very much for putting this on and making it a priority for our community. Spread the word.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt Schwabe. I do research on water, and it's a really, really complex issue. And I just want to thank you for helping me digest it. I've been doing this for 20 years, but getting out of my office, turning away from the news, from the articles, and listening to you and going on these tours has been extremely informative. It's a complex issue. A lot of people don't understand exactly the challenges that you confront, but I think this class has really helped me understand more of the challenges and see what a wonderful, professional, and caring job you all do. So thank you very much, and I hope to continue to be an ambassador for this program in the years to come.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I could make a
Yes,
comment.
ma'am, please.
So the three individuals that are here today actually attended the Colorado River trip with me at this last trip to the Hoover Dam and got to see all those things. And I want to tell you how impressed I was with all of you and your questions that you brought. Everything that you asked, all of the things that you generated so that everybody, it was such a diverse group and everybody was coming from different backgrounds, different areas of interest, different engagement with the communities. And I was so happy that you guys were able to attend. I hope you can attend the future ones that we've got planned here because I really enjoyed your perspectives and your point of views, being that that was my first trip as well. And so I'm really excited to have you join me again for the rest of the stuff that we've got planned for this year and the trip that I was given by Metropolitan for the state trip, if you've not gone on that. And then the tour of the Weymouth plant that we're going to do, which is going to be just fascinating, and see the laboratory and some of the other things that we'll really get to see. So I'm looking at Allison, and she's going, yes, I'm all about it, right? So, right? No, absolutely. So that's what I want to see because they've done a real huge revise on that, and they're doing some construction and some improvements over there to upgrade that facility. So I'm really excited to see that for the first time so we can experience that together. So thank you so much for your dedication, your commitment, and all that you're doing to promote Western and water.
Great. Thank you. Director Rizvi.
I'm like, you always approve projects and then you approve things, and when you see come to fruition, it's amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Good job. Kudos to our staff for putting it together. I know it's hard with schedules and everything, so great job, and thank you, and we look forward to hearing your input of what we can do better. So thank you.
Great. Director Roten.
I just wanted to offer my congratulations and my thanks for your commitment, because I know that all of you involved in this project have very busy lives. And so you made this a priority and saw it to completion. And I'm really impressed. And I would just like to say congratulations to the best class of 2022 water leaders.
Director Torres.
First of all, congratulations to this first cohort of water leaders in a Western region, and great job to the staff that took care of this. I know that there are other water academies and programs out there. And so to make it different and be able to showcase our project, our projects more exclusively is a huge feat. So congratulations to you too.
Thank you. I will just add my congratulations first to our staff for putting this together. It really is a comprehensive program. Some will recall there was a sort of similar program years ago that was nowhere near as comprehensive. I was in that, and I learned a fair amount, but this is much better. And so you who were in the first class, I think, got a treat, but it's a real commitment to put in that amount of time. And I appreciate your doing that, and I'm really confident that you will go out and represent Water and Western very well. And you know that you have a source of people to ask questions of or give feedback to at any time that opportunity is appropriate. So thank you. Mr. Miller, did you want to mention anything?
I of course.
I thought maybe.
I think this program was really successful. Our goal was to get community leaders, and the group that we had this year nailed that goal. So we have really interesting, very involved people, and it does take a huge commitment of their time to do that. But I would also say from a staff standpoint, it was a really fun group. So the time we spent with them was really engaging, and their input, feedback, questions are very valuable to us. That's one of the points that we don't emphasize, but we learn a lot. And so it helps us target our communications better, and they actually provided a lot of ideas of things that we could do differently to reach the community better. So I think the give and take was outstanding, is exactly what we wanted, especially for this first class. Helps us improve it for the future, but we're off to a great start. So thank you all very much. We really enjoyed it.
Great.
Director
Denstedt.
I had two additional things, one comment and then a suggestion to staff perhaps to add to the program.
Okay.
One, I want to make sure that I make a disclaimer and say whatever happens at Gene Camp stays at Gene Camp, okay? Anything else about the tour, we can talk about, all right? So just want to make sure we're clear about that. The second thing I really think would be an interesting thing to put forward would be to create a challenge coin. A challenge coin. This is very popular in a lot of professions. The military does it. A lot of law enforcement does it. A lot of first responders do this. It's a challenge coin. But it would be great if we could give challenge coins out for the classes to give to the next class and challenge them to be a part of it and put the year that they should do that. Give some to the board members so that we can give them to people and challenge to sign up for this program and be a part of it as what their challenge coin is and move that forward. So I think that would be something really good for people to, because it gives you an article and tells people this is a story and this is what this is going to do for you, and move it forward. So just a suggestion, food for thought. Craig is writing notes.
We'll consider it. Certainly we'll look into it.
Because it's a very popular thing to do. So just putting that out there as a suggestion.
Thank you. Any other comments from board or staff on this? Thank you all very much, and good job. Brings us to consent calendar. Does any member of the board wish to pull anything on the consent calendar? Hearing none and not seeing a hand raised, do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
We do not.
Okay, then I would look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Denstedt, second by Director Rizvi. Any discussion? If not, let's do a roll call, please.
Thank you. I apologize. We had a small technical glitch.
No problem.
Director Torres? Director Torres? There
Yes,
you
can
go.
you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Go ahead. Your vote for the consent calendar?
Sorry, I said yes.
Thank you. Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Isby?
Yes.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I will just note for members of the public that Western has a fairly new requirement that if a director is participating remotely for them to vote, they have to be visible on screen, and Director Torres was in fact on screen when she voted. Brings us then to items to be added to the agenda. Mr. Miller, have you any?
No, there's nothing to add today.
Okay, thank you. Our action agenda, the first one is Resolution 3263, updating the local hazard mitigation plan. Mr. Miller, would you like to introduce the
Sure.
staff people?
Sure. Anita Wilcox is going to present this for us. This went to the Engineering and Operations Committee. We had an extensive presentation there and talked all about the details. We're certainly happy to answer any questions, but Anita will be doing a verbal presentation. We do have the PowerPoint on call if we need it again, but I'll turn it over to you, Anita.
Thank you. Good morning, directors. Thank you for having me. As Craig said, we did give a presentation at our January 3rd EOWR. We do have that on standby if you would like to see it again, but we're prepared to give you a verbal this morning. So you may recall hazard mitigation is considered a best practice for emergency management. It's also a regulatory compliance under the Disaster Act of 2000. So this plan gets updated every 5 years. Western is responsible for drafting our own plan, and then we submit it to the County of Riverside as an appendices to the county plan. The county plan then goes to the State California Office of Emergency Services. The state reviews the plan and then submits it ultimately to the Federal Emergency Management Association, FEMA. FEMA then approves the plan and sends it back to us. So what we're asking the board to do today is to authorize staff to provide our plan to the County of Riverside and to allow staff to make any non-substantive editorial changes that may come back from the county, state, and federal review process. Through the review of the general manager and legal counsel, should any change be deemed substantial, we of course would bring that back to the board for your consideration. So items to note for the plan, because we do update it every 5 years. The 2022 plan includes an update of staff changes, population information, and Western's hazards of concern. So we went through an extensive vulnerability assessment. We considered all of our critical facilities and created a list of mitigation actions for staff to work on in the next 5 years to help maintain our services. These are consistent with our operating budget and our capital budget, so no additional funding is needed. Also important to note, this local hazard mitigation plan allows us to apply for hazard mitigation assistance. It's a minimum requirement on many grant applications. So by approving our plan, we not only set the strategy going forward, but we also give ourselves the opportunity for funding. So with that, if there are any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, please adopt this resolution and our 2022 local hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you, Anita. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, are there any questions from board members?
One question. Is there a deadline for this to be approved by the county or the state?
So our deadline to the county is today. So
Okay.
with your approval, we will immediately submit to the County of Riverside. They have an additional 30 days before they are required to turn it over to the state. The state will take their time, and then FEMA, of course, will take their time. Based on history, the 2017 plan, which was our previously adopted plan, took 18 months to complete the full cycle. We're hoping it won't take that long this time.
A follow-up question.
Yes.
So God forbid, there is an emergency during this, there is hazard during that time for approval. Do you roll back to the 2017 plan that this has not been implemented, or how does that work?
So we can do both because we're having our board adopt the Western Plan today. We do have our update, even though it hasn't been FEMA approved. If we were to seek FEMA funding, we would use the 2017 approved document with the caveat that the current document is going through the review process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Director Roten?
No,
Oh, nothing. Okay.
Question.
Okay.
Torres has her hand.
Director Torres?
Not really a question, just a comment. Great job on this. I know it's a huge overhaul. I guess I do have a question. And in our findings for any updates, what has was there any hazards that we needed to add, such as fire or flooding in our plan?
So we considered the natural hazards required under the Disaster Act. We also incorporated our 2020 risk and resilience assessment, which included all hazards, including cybersecurity and human-driven hazards such as theft or vandalism. We also extensively updated the wildfire section of the local hazard mitigation plan to include public safety power shutoffs and the more recent energy shedding requirements that we've been facing. So yes, the document does take into account recent events.
And if you mentioned FEMA funding, if we have to apply for FEMA funding, would we have to do it with the county, or would we be able to do it do we do it on our own if we're part of this plan? That's it. Those are my questions. Great job, by the way. I know that what an overhaul this is.
And with that, I should also thank my partner in crime, James Chatwin, our safety officer. And with us today, we have one of our consultants representing Herndon Solutions and Atlas Planning, Mr. Aaron Fannensteel. So thank you very much to the team and to the board.
Great. Mr. Fannensteel, thank you for taking the time to come in. Are there other questions from anybody on the board? If not, do we
Move
have
to
any
approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Torres, and I'm sorry, the second was?
Me.
Director Rizvi. Any discussion? If not, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
And I will again just note that Director Torres was on camera when she voted.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Our next item is approval of the water meter replacement program, Phase 3.
All right,
Mr. Miller?
thank you very much. Darian Cotton is here to do an update. She did an extensive presentation at the Finance Committee, and so we will hear a verbal presentation here. Darian, all yours.
All right, good morning, everyone. So, good morning, President Gardner, directors of the board, and members of the public, and my Western Water staff. I'm here today as the Customer Service Manager here at Western to discuss Phase 3 of the meter replacement project. The Finance Committee and staff recommend that the board approve the purchase of materials and data plans necessary to complete Phase 3 of the water meter replacement project. So since the pandemic, there's been a gradual increase in delivery lead times, ranging from 6 to 7 months. That's 6 to 7 months between the time that we're placing orders and actually receiving the meters in stock. So staff is requesting authorization to purchase the meters and related materials in advance of the project installation start date, which is slated for June of 2023. We're asking this approval in advance to ensure that we meet the potential grant timeline requirements. So staff will return to the board to award the contract for meter installation after bids are received down the road. The requested $1.2 million budget for materials is currently within the adopted capital improvement and facilities plan for fiscal year 22, 23, and 23, 24. Funding will come from operating reserves from Riverside Potable, Riverside Non-Potable, and Murrieta Water System Improvement Funds. Additional funding may come from an anticipated $670,000 Water Smart Water and Energy Efficiency Grant that has been applied for but not yet awarded. Now, roughly $97,000 of the total budget will be allocated to the data collection services that are required for the meters. At the completion of Phase 3 of the project, the actual project cost for Phases 1 and 2, plus the proposed budget for Phase 3, will total $11.2 million. During Phases 1 and 2, Western was awarded and received grants totaling $1.75 million, bringing the net project cost to about $9.5 million. Phases 1 and 2 of the program replaced nearly 94% of the aging meters within the Riverside service area. Phase 3 will replace or retrofit just under 1,800 meters within the Riverside and Murrieta service areas. The automated metering infrastructure technology that is being installed, which is commonly referred to as AMI, allows meters to store and then transmit hourly meter reads to antennas. Meters with this capability are referred to as smart meters, and throughout this phased project, the installation of these smart meters has shown a reduction in water loss due to the replacement of slowing meters, has allowed staff to quickly respond to customers inquiring about their water usage, has assisted staff and customers in proactively identifying water use anomalies, and, in my opinion, provides invaluable support when discussing potential conservation opportunities. So with that, I look forward to your support in approving this item, and I'd like to open the floor to any questions or comments.
Are there questions or comments from directors? Director Denstedt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm looking at this, we're looking at 1,700, almost 1,800 meters left to do. Out of that, do we know what the number is for Murrieta?
583.
Oh, you're good, girl. 583.
Well, this is my first time
Okay.
presenting. I figured I should know my numbers.
No, that was good. That's bang on. Okay, so I assume that as we're going through and doing the new construction down there, the requirements are that they're going to be placing this as the required under the development process, correct?
Correct.
And are we only replacing, because I know we had Neptune meters down there to begin with, are we replacing just outdated ones that aren't capable of doing any of the radio transmission stuff, or are we, what?
It's a combination.
Okay.
So we are replacing and retrofitting. So depending on the life of the device, the meter or the register, it will either be replaced or retrofitted, meaning upgraded to meet the standards that we're currently requiring.
Okay. All right. No, I think this is great. What, just for the sake of the public, what is the, I don't know whether I want to call it inconvenience, but what is the inconvenience for,
Oh, like, what will the customer see?
what will the
So,
customer
Jerry,
see
yeah,
when we're
well,
doing
no,
that?
this is important because we've put a lot of time and effort into how we communicate with this to the customer. So I don't know, Sarah, did you want to
Absolutely.
lead in for Darian?
Yeah, I can help
Tag
out,
team it
but Darian,
with Darian.
please interject if I get anything wrong. In terms of actual downtime with the customer, it'll be very minimal. We will notify them in advance through an outreach program so that they're aware when they can expect work at their property and what they can expect to see on their bill as a result. So we went through this through phases 1 and 2 of the project, making sure we really had a comprehensive outreach program around it so that customers wouldn't have surprises. We also learned a lot through that, so we're ready to apply those lessons learned so that phase 3 goes as smooth as possible. Darian, did I miss anything on that?
You're
Okay.
absolutely correct. And the downtime when switching out a meter, we're talking 15 minutes is maybe the maximum amount of time to switch out a meter.
Fantastic.
And the customers are notified in advance. So we will knock on the doors to make sure if anyone is at home that we're notifying them that they'll be without water while the meters are exchanged.
And I can add one of the lessons learned through phase one that we applied through phase two is notifying them in advance, not just the day of, but in advance, and offering an opportunity. If it's a really inconvenient time for them, we can schedule it as well. So we'll be working directly with those customers impacted.
No, that's terrific. So when I get stopped in the grocery store, I know exactly what I need to say to folks when they say, why are you guys doing this? So, no, fantastic, and thank you. I know that this has been a long time coming. We've been doing this in phases for a while, and the funding that we receive for that has been really helpful too. So it's a benefit to our customers so they can actually see their usage. We're going to be giving them a lot more resources to be able to draw that information, so.
Well, and, the bigger picture conversation that you can have in the grocery store while you're in the
Yes,
vegetable aisle.
exactly.
Is that, efficient meters that are registering the true use of water is a cost savings to all of our customers. Because if a meter's not working somewhere, Western still has to buy that water and produce it, but we're not getting revenue from wherever the broken meter is. So by having meters that work, we get revenue for everything. It actually lowers everyone's cost, except for maybe the one person who had the broken meter. And we have heard that back, that don't fix my meter, I like that it's broken. But that's not fair to your neighbors, because your neighbors are actually paying for your water. So our water loss numbers as an agency have gone way down because of this program. And that's why our rate program that we adopted for a 4-year program had such minimal rates. Remember, it was only 2%, because our water loss had dropped, and that allowed us to minimize our rate adjustments to customers. So big picture, this is really good for the customers.
Okay, so now that you open that door.
Thanks, Craig.
Right? No, now that you open that door. So I know that back in the day, and this was a Tom Evans thing for sure that brought up on water loss when we were calculating and doing all those things, we were upwards of close to 8 and 9% that were calculated way back in the day. This was 15 years ago when we were having these conversations and we were looking at calculations, and slowly it started coming down. So what are we calculating and figuring as a water loss at this point? Where are we at?
If only Kevin were here so he could tell you what a good news story this is. I don't know, 3%. That's extremely low.
Yes.
For a water agency. Statewide, most people are where, most agencies are where Western used to be.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. You were right on with that number, and kudos to you. So now I know exactly what to say in the grocery store
Yes.
when I'm stopped. And it's all good. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions?
No questions, move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Is there any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, if you would please call the roll.
Thank you. Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And again, for anybody who is not able to see the screen, Director Torres was visible when she voted. Brings us to 8C, Resolution 3270, appointing our board representatives to the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, President Gardner. The board approved our matrix of committee assignments last month. SAPA requires a resolution. So following through with the appointments, we have to come back to the board for a standalone resolution. So I'm sure the board will recall that Mike Gardner and Brenda Denstedt were appointed to the SAPA board as our representative and our backup alternate representative. So this resolution is simply memorializing that as required by SAPA. So that's all I have to present.
Okay. Do we have any questions on that one? I would think not. Any public comment?
We have none.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Director Torres?
Abstain.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-1 with Director Torres abstaining.
And just to note again, Director Torres was visible when she cast her abstention. 8D is similar. It is a Resolution 3271 appointing representatives to the Western Riverside County Regional Water Master Authority Board of Directors.
So similar to the previous action, WRCOG, RCRA requires the same thing, sorry. And the board last month appointed Director Rizvi as the primary representative and Director Roten as the alternate.
Okay, any questions? Public comment?
No public comment.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion and second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Tammy, would you please call the roll?
Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And once again, I will just note that Director Torres was visible when she cast her vote. Brings us to reports, beginning with General Counsel, Mr. Ballinger.
Mr. President, members of the board, a few things. One is these appointments are a good reminder, and I was asked to remind the board about our obligations to file Form 700 leaving office and assuming office statements. And so that would apply to any outside agencies, so SAPA, MET, CDA, those outside agencies, and you can coordinate through Ms. Ford. She works with those agencies' board clerks. For the board itself and the reorganization of the officers, those don't call for leaving office or assuming office statements, nor do committee assignments within Western itself or our joint committees. So we have joint committees with Eastern and Rancho. Those are not considered outside agencies that require Form 700. So again, for new assignments to outside agencies, make sure to file your assuming office, and if you've left one, file a leaving office statement. Secondarily, the Engineering, Operations, and Water Resources Committee heard a report on Monday with regard to AB 2449 and the complexities of that law. The committee recommended that the board take no action in terms of adopting a policy, but instead allow the emergency provisions of AB 361 to lapse at the end of February. And so therefore, basically the board will be defaulting to the original 1988 era provisions of teleconferencing, which if a board member wishes to teleconference in, we'll just need to coordinate with the board secretary to make sure that that remote location is posted and available to the public. So just wanted to update the board and the public on that. And then finally, the legal counsel's office will be providing our annual update on new laws. We have a couple of them that have already come out electronically, but in order to provide the board with printed copies, those should be available at the next meeting, so I'll bring printed copies to the board. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. Ballinger? Okay. General Manager's report, Mr. Miller.
Okay, on the agenda, we show a water supply update. I'll just handle that within my general manager's report. We gave a lengthy water supply update at the last board meeting, so we'll do that again at the next board meeting as things change in Northern California and update snowpack and rainfall totals. The big news is that State Water Project upped its allocation from 5% to 30%. So what does that mean for metropolitan member agencies? Met has about 2 million acre feet of rights on the State Water Project. So this means that Metropolitan will get about 570,000 acre feet of water out of the State Water Project. This isn't the final number, so we all have our fingers crossed that if it stays wet and they get a more detailed analysis of the State Water Project snowpack, that this hopefully will adjust upwards again later in the year. Snowpack is going to be measured probably today And so we'll probably get a report shortly of what the snowpack is, but last week it was like 200% of average, which is outstanding. So hopefully we see that grow a little bit more. Metropolitan is still going through the process of preparing for a water supply allocation. Our team is up there. We're communicating that with all of our member agencies. The latest talk, and I'll actually be attending the Met managers meeting on Friday, so I'll hear a lot more about this on Friday. But Met's still talking about being in an allocation with a state water project allocation, anything less than 50%. So right now, if it didn't move from 30, we likely would still be in required cutbacks from Metropolitan. So we'll just see how that goes. That won't happen until probably late spring. So I'll report back more on that. Drought's not over. We've talked about that. Lake Oroville actually crossed 2.3 million acre feet this morning, which is 66% of capacity, which is, I think that's probably still not average.
No, 60.
So we're still not up to average. So as wet as it's been. So we got to be careful about our optimism. I will share with you Jennifer Pierre. She's the general manager of the State Water Contractors. So she issued a press release, and I just want to share so you can hear what the state, the leader of the State Water Contractors, and this is a Sacramento perspective. We welcome this much-needed increase in state water project supplies, but we will need additional storms to recover from multiple dry years, said Jennifer Pierre. As California looks to adopt our changing climate and pattern for longer, drier periods followed by flashier, more unpredictable storm events, we must seek to take advantage of every opportunity to capture more water when it's wet and use throughout the year when it's not. That is why it's important to upgrade and maintain state water project infrastructure through larger, longer solutions like the Delta Conveyance Project. Had the Delta Conveyance Project been in place during these most recent winter storms, we would have captured that could have been used to bolster and help further local water supply development. So that's water that went out the Golden Gate Bridge. So really interesting that this is a Sacramento perspective saying the same things that Solve the Water Crisis is saying, and we've actually I've communicated with Jennifer several times about Solve the Water Crisis, and she's very, very supportive of the concept because as the manager of the state water system, she knows that she needs more storage on the system. They got to be able to capture more water, and they want to serve all of those rights. So Met has 2 million acre feet of rights. She wants to serve 2 million acre feet to Southern California, but she knows she can't because the state doesn't have enough storage. So she's right there with us, pushing for increased storage on the state level. So that's kind of the water supply discussion. Good news story, the Mockingbird Pump Station. The board may recall that we got grant funding for a Tesla battery pack there. So that finally got approval from Edison to operate. So it's been installed, it's now operating. The concept is that you'll charge the battery pack when electric rates are low, and then you'll use the energy from the battery pack when electric rates are very high. So estimated to save us about $50,000 a year to do that, and this was fully funded, so fully grant funded. So, great story. We're anxious to put it in operation and actually see what the savings are. Finally, a reminder, I announced this at ComGov, but JCSD is having its first ever community awards. So they're going to be presenting the inaugural Don Galliano Water Champion Award to Director Roten. So this will be Thursday, February 9th at 11:30. They have other awards also. So it'll be a great event, and I encourage you to go if you can. Talk to Tammy if you'd like to register for that event and attend. And that concludes my comments. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Miller? Seeing none, thank you very much. Brings us then to directors' reports and requests. SOPA did not meet since we last met. MWD.
We didn't meet either, so we do have a workshop scheduled for the 13th and 14th. General Manager and I will be attending that down in Temecula. They've scheduled that as a special discussion workshop, so we'll bring more to that at the next meeting.
Great, thank you. Chino Basin Water Master did meet late last month, and they selected the same officers for another term. No change there. A couple of board members did change. One moved from representing one agency to representing a different agency. Monte Vista Water Company now has one of their directors as a board member on Chino Basin Water Master. And that was about it for that meeting. Chino de Salter, I believe, meets tomorrow.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Yes, that meets tomorrow.
So RCRA,
They will meet on the 23rd.
okay. WRCOG,
Next Monday.
Sarah.
Next month.
Okay, director's comments. Let's start with Director Torres, if we could.
Just a couple of updates. Attended the State of the City, which was a really, really great event, as well as an open house for iWorks, and we were able to see the impact it's having on workforce development, the different agencies that are benefiting from it. And then the last thing, I just want to say happy Black History Month. I hope everyone takes this short month, although it shouldn't just be a month, to really learn about the contributions, culture, and of the Black community in our country.
So, okay, thank you. Director Roten.
Yes, just a couple of comments. On January 27th, I attended the Harupa Valley Interagency Council meeting, and I mentioned that because water was highly represented at that meeting. There were members from Rubidoux Community Services, Harupa Community Services, and Santa Ana River Water Company. We're all there. I'd say we were half the room. So that is a interagency council in Harupa Valley because the city of Harupa Valley has so many special districts. That's how we were formed. We left all those alone. They do these meetings, I think it's every other month. It's just basically a round table, and each agency that attends is able to give an update. And it's really helpful because then folks from the different agencies know what's happening with the other agencies, so they can hopefully coordinate or not get in each other's way or help to support the goings-on. I also attended that day along with President Gardner, the Southern California Water Coalition, and that was a luncheon held at the Sheraton by the Pomona Fairgrounds. They announced that, Charlie Wilson, I think, announced that that was the largest attendance they've ever had at one of those events. So they were extremely excited about that and should have been. The discussion was about climate action for water with emphasis on action. And Adon Ortega was the moderator. His voice was kind of going, so he had some help from one of the panelists as well. And they did a component of the presentation, and maybe Mike can help fill in on this, because I didn't have my normal notepad out to take notes, so I put a few things in my phone, but this was kind of, I'm gonna call it a technique that they used during the presentation. Mike's probably thinking, where is she going with this? The moderator, Adon, made a statement and then asked for a one-word reaction from the panelists. And I thought it was just an interesting way to kind of refocus our attention on what it was that they were sharing about. So I know one of the answers, and forgive me, I can't remember what the question was, but one of the answers just came right back was essential. And I thought, what would I say if I was up there? Because those are quick responses, you know. But anyway, it was an interesting technique. And I did just want to read a couple of things that I did jot down in my phone. And I don't recall who said this one, but it was, we need to move from think tank to do tank. And I thought, oh, I like that. And then Michael Bomar, who was one of the panelists, made a statement about we are informing to transform. So inform to transform. And then Charlie Wilson mentioned educate to advocate. So those are just a couple of key points that stuck with me that day, but I was glad we were able to attend. So I think that, oh, one more thing. I happened to be thumbing through, I think it was our local hazard mitigation plan, and it has a section at the beginning about, you know, kind of the history of the agency. And I think that we missed celebrating the January 19th, 1954 birthday of Western. And I always like to celebrate things, so
A cake opportunity blew by us and we weren't paying attention?
But it was the day after our last board meeting, so I think we're okay today to say, you know, happy birthday or anniversary or whatever we want to call it. But, yeah, so just something I happened to notice. That's
Great.
it.
Thank you. It appears that we need a organizational historian.
A social calendar.
Director Dinstead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did attend a couple of things in the last week or so. I did go to the Mega Mixer that was held down at the Diamond Stadium, and there were, I think it was 6 chambers and a couple of thousand people that showed up, which was always a great event. There were a lot of goodies and things that were handed out. So I would encourage us to perhaps put a booth in there. I know our partner agencies, Elsinore was there, and so was some folks from Rancho and things. That was well received. If we've got takeaways, it's a worthy event for the Mega Mixer, and I know they'll have another one towards the end of the year, probably at the end of summer, maybe in the September timeframe. So, but yeah, there were several thousand people that attended that, so just to make a notation. And I wanted to also bring up a conversation that took place. I attended on behalf of my colleague, since he has a conflict on his calendar, and this is how we, you know, coordinate with SAPA, but I was part of OWOW, and I'm now the convener of OWOW. Thank you, President Gardner. But one of the conversations that was had at OWOW, we talked about Prop 1 Round 2 funding that took place, and there's going to be another opportunity for an additional round, that they're going to do another swing at this for additional funding that may be available and out. The total projects that were awarded so far from round 2 total just over 27, almost $28 million. One of the questions that I had asked staff to bring back, which I found out very fascinating, was the question was basically on the projects out of the 13 that were awarded, one of them was a well that needed rehab, okay? So my question was, out of these projects, what is establishing new water versus revised water? Because at one point, that well system up in Rialto or wherever it was in service, and they had to take it out of service. And so that water was gone, but it was originally in the incorporation. So for new water, the projects that have been approved to bring new water in are just 13,000 acre feet, 13,312 acre feet. And the revised water, which is something that was already in play and had to be taken offline for whatever reason, was 18,466 acre feet. So out of the total of the 13 projects, we're getting almost 32,000 acre feet of water brought in because of this grant approval funding throughout our SAPA region. So I thought that was a really fascinating way to look at it. And so I've asked staff, when we do these projects, we should really put them in two categories of if people are using the money to refurbish, rehash, redo some projects, we need to talk about those waters in two different senses of what's new, truly new, and what's kind of being brought back into the system that was originally there. So I just wanted to share that with you, that we just kind of had that interesting conversation, and it was really fascinating to me to see that the revised water number was much higher than the new water coming in. But I think it's certainly well worth the nearly $28 million that's going to fund all these projects. So with that, that's a wow. And then I just wanted to do a circle back with staff and make sure I am hearing that the Marietta agenda is going to include the Innovation Center and the agreements on the 7th. Have you heard something different?
Tim will be attending.
Okay,
and that's the plan.
Okay, no, so that's what I keep hearing, and everybody's really excited. And the former mayor, Jonathan Ingram, is planning on being in attendance because he wants to kind of celebrate and rah-rah the 7 years of hard work put into that.
Yeah, and I met with the city manager and deputy city manager last month to make sure that it was moving forward.
Perfect.
So it's good news. And we've been coordinating with Rancho too, so we've asked Rancho to be there in the audience just in case there's any questions. So Rob Grantham, I think, said he would be happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And that's all my comments today, Mr. President.
Great, thank you. Director Risby.
All right. So a couple of events I attended. I attended the CASA conference last week, which is, the theme this year was navigating uncharted waters, which was very interesting, thinking of what happened in last 3 years was so unusual. What comes next for water, especially wastewater agencies? So they had a lot of really interesting presentations. One was, the impending wave of retirement, of how are we attracting new talent? What are we doing? So there was a panel conversation of what different things agencies are doing to attract talent. One thing I really found interesting was they said, all three of the panelists did say that giving employees working from home 2 days a week has been really helpful. That kind of is working a lot for them. And one thing was that they're saying that some of we provide training and education for new talent, but LA agency, they said they have started offering paying their student loans back. And that has attracted them a lot of new talent. So there was a lot of ideas of how to attract new talent, and which was very interesting. The main, Erin Brockovich was supposed to be there, but she could not be, so her partner, Bob Wowak, was there. It was very interesting to see how environmental and, are working with wastewater agencies to come up with, he had a presentation about PFAS, exactly what's happening, what they are, how we find them. It was almost like scary when he talked about how we can find PFAS in our nail paint, and which was like, because the latex in there is something that's in there. The pots and pan we cook in, the nonstick, they said they found a lot of PFAS in there, and you can get PFAS tested in your blood, and you can find levels. And they said that kids have had high levels of PFAS. So that is something that they are working with wastewater industry and water industry to work with. So that presentation was like how to look for it, what to find. That was very interesting and very knowledgeable. I do have that presentation, and I will send it to Tammy so she can share it with you guys. It was very informative. It has a lot of detailed numbers of what they're looking for, what USPA, EPA is looking for wastewaters and clean water numbers. So that was very interesting. And they had a presentation about cybersecurity and what happened in Florida and how, how they found. So they found that it was hacked by one of the employee who was checking everything. They saw the mouse moving the screen. And this is how exactly they found out that they are being hacked, because he said this doesn't look normal for him to see. And it was his effort in paying attention, but they were at a big security threat. And it could have led to physical threat after cyber threat of how to, improve their security. They had a lot of solutions of what to do, especially for smaller agencies, especially smaller wastewater agencies that they don't have a lot of plans. And there are a lot of agencies they're talking to right now is something that, this is something that is concern for them. And especially, again, going back to having talent, they do not have a lot of cybersecurity specialists right now. So having, training people in this industry is something that they're really looking forward to. So it was a very good conference. And then the last one was, I think it's Toho Water Authority from Florida. They came, they talked about their hazard mitigation plan when Hurricane Ian hit them. And they had 3 wastewater bodies. But what they talked about is they had created a mitigation plan, just what are they going to do with their volunteers? Because they said that a lot of people talk about, people show up to help. But the biggest problem comes around when they don't know what to do. So they had created a plan of when people show up to help how to place them, what to have them do. So it was a really good presentation. So that's about it. And it was really good. And the next, I think it was a much smaller conference. So the bigger conference was going to be in August. And that's about it. And then I attended Corona Chambers Installation Gala Award. That was almost like 500 people. It was very successful, and we presented. Western was a sponsor, so that was a great event. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few. You may have noticed that we are in different seats than we were before. And that's something that I asked for because having sat on the end where Director Denstedt is now, it's difficult to see who may want the attention of the chair of the meeting down toward this end or even the middle. So I did ask to have us moved around. We have done that. And I think it does make for a little more efficient leading of meetings. You may have noticed that we have a new logo on the wall behind us. We can see one on the front of the podium. We're rolling that out now. You'll continue to see it in more places as time goes on. I think it looks better in color.
Looks beautiful.
And it's something I think we should be proud of, and I think it does illustrate the new Western and the new focus of Western as a leader on a larger scale and an innovator. And so pleased to see it and looking forward to more of it. Let's see, as Director Roten mentioned, I was at the Southern California Water Coalition quarterly lunch. I think she gave a really good report on what happened. I will just add that to every attendee's shock, we were charged $10 parking by the hotel. Or actually, I think it was probably the fairgrounds. But anyway, it was a good lunch, and the attendance was impressive. Let's Let's see. Oh, I have immediately following this meeting, I am appearing at the Exchange Club of Riverside and giving them a presentation on the status of the drought and where we're going from here and solve the water crisis. And then we have, Tammy, if I may, something that is slightly overdue, but for Director Denstedt, who served us well as president for 2 years, we have a nice plaque with her own traditional gavel, which hopefully she will not use any more than she used the one that sits up here. And I am really thankful for her leadership. She did an outstanding job for us. It was challenging. Normally, I think we rotate officers annually, but for a variety of reasons, we were facing some difficult times, and Director Denstedt agreed to serve as president for an additional year. And it didn't age her a bit, which is surprising, because there's a lot of extra work in it. I did notice when I took this new seat here that there was a very large pair of shoes sitting underneath the table, and I will do my best to wear them well, although I am taking the heels off. And if other directors have comments, now would be a good time. So, Director Roden?
Yeah, much appreciation, Director Denstedt, for your service as president and leading this board through, COVID times and sad passings of directors and appointment processes, and along with all the regular things that come with that position. So I just want to say thank you. You have been very helpful to me coming on board as the newbie and continue to be, and I really appreciate that. I'm so thankful that we have your historical knowledge represented up here with. No, it's history, and I watch sometimes on other boards when every single person is new, that they don't realize why certain decisions were made in the past for the reasons that they were made. And so it's really helpful to have that insight into that. So thank you very much.
Director Risby?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to, what Laura said is thank you for providing every time. I'm like, when I came in, she said, it will take 2 years for you to really understand. And really, that was true. And thank you for giving us background knowledge into a lot of information. So congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, Director Torres, if you're still with us, did you wish to say anything?
No.
Okay, thank you. Director Denstedt?
Sir.
You escaped. Congratulations. Yes, and here it is.
I carried it over to him
Yeah.
in a quick hurry. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Okay, and then if everyone would join us down in front, we will, yes, take a picture and actually hand over this cool plaque.
Alrighty. This is very nice. And I'm loving this.
Okay, do we have requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, is there a report from the Aqua representatives?
I do have just an update. We did have a meeting yesterday to talk about the tour that we have scheduled in March 27th. So that agenda has been set and we have speakers that have been confirmed. So that's all moving forward. So we're really excited about bringing that program down to the Salton Sea and taking all of the attendees. We have completely sold out all of the seats and there is a waiting list. So if you've got a seat, boy, hold on to it because it's going to, there's a wait list of people that want to attend. And then the other thing too, this has been provided on my calendar. I'm sure that Tammy will be able to forward this all to you, but the calendar for the rest of the year for all of the Region 9 board meetings has been set. And so we do have those dates that have been placed on calendar. So we're happy to share those with you if you'd like to post them on your calendar and attend those meetings. And with that, that will conclude my Region 9 Aqua report.
Great, thank you. We do have information items as usual in our packet, the investment report for December of last year, and the government disclosure report for December of last year. I believe we have no closed session today.
That is correct.
Our next meeting is February the 15th of this year at 9:30 here at Western. And with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you all very much.